All right, today we are breaking down some incredibly simple food habits that can have a huge, and I mean huge, impact on your brain health. We're diving into the work of biochemist Jesse Inchauspé, who you probably know as the glucose goddess, to figure out how to get off that crazy energy roller coaster and get a sharper, more focused mind. So let's start with our brain. It is an absolute energy hog. Get this, it only makes up about 2% of our body mass, right? But it demands a whopping 20% of our daily energy. It is always on, always working, and it needs fuel constantly. So if our brain is such an energy hog, the logical next step would be to just feed it more fuel, right? Load up on starches and sugars. That seems to make sense, but that's exactly where we get into trouble. Think about it like you're watering a houseplant. You know it needs water to live, of course, but what happens if you give it way too much? It drowns. Well, our brain is exactly the same way with its main fuel source, glucose. It needs a nice steady supply to work its best, but flooding it all at once, that creates a whole mess of problems. And this too much, too fast problem is what creates the glucose roller coaster. And trust me, for our brain, this is one ride that is anything but fun. It's really the root cause of so many of the mental ups and downs we feel every single day. The real villain of this story is the glucose spike. This is what happens after you eat a meal that's heavy in starches, bread, pasta, or sugars. Your body just gets this sudden, massive flood of glucose, and that's what sends your energy levels on that wild ride. And the consequences of this ride, they're pretty serious. That spike and the crash that always follows, it can literally slow down the signals between your neurons. That's what creates that feeling of brain fog. It can make you irritable, angry, it can worsen your overall mental health, and it kicks off this vicious cycle of cravings. And long-term, this roller coaster is even linked to the development of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, so how do we get off this thing? The good news is, you don't have to cut out all the foods you love. You don't have to count a single calorie. The solution is in 4 super simple, science-backed principles that you can start using like today. Here they are. That's it. A savory breakfast, a little vinegar, a veggie starter, and some movement after you eat. Simple, right? Let's look at how to actually put these into practice. All right, let's dive into the playbook. We're gonna break down each of these hacks one by one, and you're gonna see just how easy it is to work these into your daily routine for a massive payoff in how your brain feels and performs. First up, breakfast. So many of us start the day with something sweet. Cereal, juice, maybe pancakes. And when we do that, we get this little buzz, but it's not real energy. It's actually a dopamine release, the pleasure molecule, that's tricking your brain. By switching to a savory breakfast, something built around protein, you totally avoid that first big spike, and you give your brain steady, focused energy for the whole day. Okay, hack number 2. This introduces a really cool molecule called acetic acid. You find it in vinegar. So just by having 1 tablespoon of any kind of vinegar in a big glass of water before one of your meals, something kind of magical happens. That acetic acid actually slows down how quickly the starches and sugars in your food break down into glucose. And this slide just shows the effect so brilliantly. I mean, look, on the left you see that huge glucose spike from a bowl of pasta, but then look at the bar on the right. When you have that little vinegar drink beforehand, you can slash that spike significantly. You're eating the exact same meal, but you're blunting its negative impact. It's amazing. For our third hack, we are calling in a superwoman: fiber. By having a veggie starter before one of your main meals, the fiber basically gets a head start. It goes down and creates this protective mesh on the walls of your intestine. And that mesh then slows down and reduces how much glucose from the rest of your meal actually gets absorbed. And this really gets to such a powerful idea. I mean, of course, vegetables are good for you anytime, but to unlock their superpower for flattening those glucose curves, you have to eat them first. It's not just about what's on your plate, it's about the order. Finally, let's put our muscles to work. After a meal, just use them for 10 minutes. This could be anything: a walk around the block, cleaning up the kitchen, having a little dance party in your living room. When your muscles contract, they need energy, so they start soaking up all that excess glucose from the meal you just ate. They act like little glucose sponges, and that brings the spike way down. So let's get to our final point and see how this all builds into the most powerful takeaway of all. Because when you put these ideas together, you realize you have this incredible leverage over your own health just by changing a few simple habits. This slide just shows the incredible scale of this. Look at this meal: broccoli, salmon, rice, and a piece of cake for dessert. The top row shows the worst order, eating the cake and rice first. That gives you a massive glucose spike. But now look at the second row. You eat the exact same food, but in the best order: veggies first, then protein, then carbs and sugars last. And you can slash the glucose spike of that meal by up to 75%. That's not a typo, 75%. So the huge takeaway here is this: you do not have to give up the foods you love to take care of your brain. By just focusing on how and when you eat, you can make a profound difference. You can improve your energy, clear that brain fog, and protect your health for the long run. You know, these are gentle giants. These are small changes that you can just keep with you for life. They give you this incredible power to feel better without restrictions, without some complicated diet. So really, the only question left is, which one are you going to try first?